Welcome to Podiatry Unfiltered. This is the podcast where we skip the sugarcoating and talk honestly about what it takes to survive and thrive as an independent podiatrist today. We're Michele McGowan from Podiatry Unfiltered, and this is episode 4. It has been a little while, a hot minute, since I did my last podcast. It's been 2 weeks, and some of that has to do with personal things. We had a death in the family, which is just terrible and horrifying. Part about Podiatry Unfiltered is we're talking about real life things that happen. And I want to share with you before we go into anything about podiatry, business, or burnout. I want to start by explaining why I've been a little quiet the last couple of weeks. Some of you actually noticed and reached out, and I want you to know that meant a lot to me. A few weeks ago, my oldest sister was diagnosed with a pretty aggressive form of cancer. She was diagnosed the 1st of November, and from that diagnosis of November till December 15th, she's gone. It happened really fast. It was a tough treatment journey. There was really no time to mentally prepare. As doctors, we have these things happen, tragedies happen in our own life, and we have to keep going on. We have to keep plugging along, seeing patients, doing the best we can for the people that choose us to help them. But there are just some moments in life, and when something happens, everything else gets quiet for a bit. Boss has a way of stripping things down to what actually matters. All the noise, schedules, emails, deadlines, to-do lists, it all fades for a moment, at least. And when you're left with that, it's all about perspective. As physicians, we're really good at compartmentalizing. We tell ourselves, I'll slow down later. I'll fix the practice next year. I just need to get through this busy stretch and I'll be fine. But when somebody you love is suddenly gone, you realize something very uncomfortable. It's never an ideal time. There's only now. But it actually really made me think more about this podcast and wanting to help other podiatrists realize some of your goals. And it's such a cliche time of year. Lots of times people make New Year's resolutions to lose weight, have a better business, whatever your thing has been in the past. Let's make 2026 the year we do it. Because the reality is you don't know how much time you have left and you don't want to be stuck in a life that you don't want. And today I just want to talk a little bit about how to start the new year off. And I wanted to share anecdotally a story about how in 2024, a private equity group had actually approached me and wanted to buy my practice, which was crazy because it was completely unsolicited. So what happened was I wound up getting a letter of intent to buy my practice. It was from a big private equity corporation, deals with podiatrists and dabbles in some other things as well. And I got the letter and I was in shock. They offered me $1 million to buy my practice. And I didn't ask for that. I didn't reach out to them. I didn't want anybody to buy my practice. So it was a little confusing. And I'm lucky enough to have an attorney in the family, sent it to my brother. And that's crazy, Michele, because your practice is worth a lot more than that. So you shouldn't sell it. And I'm like, I wasn't going to, but I just wanted to know why did that happen? It was kind of like crazy. So what happened was I reached back out and I said, thank you very much for the offer. This is something I don't really want to do. I'm in a pretty busy practice and we're doing pretty well. And I'm actually approaching the age where I know this is where I'm going to probably be the most successful, barring any major, knock on wood, terrible things happening. But so we declined that offer. We own property for our office. We have multiple locations and we have a lot of invested in the regenerative medicine side between soft wave, the laser. We do our own custom orthotics. So all these things make us very valuable to ourselves, but I guess it makes us valuable to other groups. So we declined the offer. But then I really thought about it after and I thought, dang, if they would have sent me that letter after my husband had cancer at 15, I would have taken it. I would have been, yeah, okay, take it, fine. Get me out of this mess. But I do think that for podiatry, we're very resilient. I think podiatrists over the course of time have been really good business people. And we've lost some of that in our profession. So I want to talk a little bit about how we can actually go back. And there were good things and bad things about olden days podiatry. I wasn't in olden days. There probably are some podiatrists that are still practicing today. When I go to my FPMA meetings, there are guys that they have their walkers and they're going into that. I want to be that guy someday. I want to be going to my meetings for podiatry and having maybe other people work for me. And I just go to the meetings for fun, kick back and talk to old buddies till I die. I think that's my plan. And so I think that is still possible in podiatry. And how we accomplish that is not by retreating and giving somebody else our power. And that is really what's happening in medicine right now. I think it's starting too, on a very much so on a younger person basis. I think we feed to the younger podiatrists, the ones that are in podiatry school, the ones that are in residency, that you can't go out and do it on your own. And I do want to address that to some of the younger podiatrists that you can. And you don't have to sell your soul to private equity. You don't have to take a job that may actually wind up being pretty darn hard. I had a little experience working for a multi-specialty group, which I've talked about before. And that multi-specialty group, I couldn't last because they really did. One, they worked me to the bone. And two, there were so many ridiculous meetings where we had at least twice a month on a Wednesday night where I had to miss my family. I had to miss soccer games and basketball games, track meets, so that I could go and listen to some crappy speaker talk about some medication that I'm never going to write for. So I think that there's some of that. I don't think the younger practitioners know that you could come right out of residency, get a nice SBA loan and start your own practice. And if you pick the right location, which not that hard. It's just there's a lot of feet in a lot of places. You just got to find that place that you know you're going to be happy because that also makes a big difference. Half the reason I chose my location here in Central Florida is because I knew I'd be happy. Happiest place on earth, Disney World. No, I knew I'd be happy because I enjoy this climate, and I picked a place where there was a rapidly growing population in Lake County, Florida at the time, and it's still continuing to expand. And new podiatrists come in our area, and I'm very happy to have them because there's a lot of feet to go around. It's very possible to start your own practice in podiatry out of residency. So don't think it's not. But I do think you have to morph if you are in private practice too, but the old way of doing it, it doesn't work anymore. The math does not math anymore. So you have to do things a little differently. And that's the stuff they don't teach in school. That's the stuff we learn on our own. Those are the reasons we go to conferences about regenerative medicine. And in addition to our traditional ACFAS, APMA, all those things, you want to continually educate yourself. Yeah, it's very possible. As far as one of the things that I definitely think would be very worthwhile if you were to start your own practice or if you're in private practice. And even if you're on the small end, this is such a great idea is to incorporate that 3D printing custom orthotics into your practice. It is a very cheap buy-in. I've used a couple different companies. I'm going to try out another company in the next week or two to see the process. But I tell you right now, it doesn't cost very much to buy a 3D printer. It does not cost very much to do the materials. And what you get back in it is better patient care because when you are printing your own custom orthotics, you're able to do it in a day. I scan somebody with my facial recognition on my iPhone, and that patient, I'm able to upload it into a software. I get my file, I print it off of my 3D printer, and they can have that orthotic back the next day. So if you're already in a private practice and maybe you're like an associate and you're looking for a way to make more money in the practice to increase your revenue, you can make yourself very worthwhile in a private practice that way. If you are in private practice for yourself and you're not interested in expanding to anything too crazy, I will say the 3D printing, so easy. It's so easy. I probably will do a video and podcast on just the whole process of a couple different ones of the companies. But yeah, I'm a big fan. As far as the buy-in, like I'll tell you, I have 4 3D printers and 3 of the printers that I do have, I loved it after I found the right printer. I bought 3 of the same ones. It's a company called QIDI. I don't even know if they make this printer anymore, but they continue to make printers. I can fit up to a size 15 orthotic in the 3D printer, the pair, and it's awesome. How we start the new year off correct or on the right foot, no pun intended, actually completely pun intended, because I think that was pretty funny. I want to have a new podcast out for you, and you can feel free to comment and give me ideas of what you want to hear about. But till then, I'm just going to keep talking about what I think works and how to help you.